Moai statues in Rocket League. Have you noticed them? These cleverly hidden heads are scattered throughout the world of Rocket League for seemingly no reason. Most people have dismissed them, but some were captivated by the Moai. They wondered why and who added them into the game, and if they attribute to the overall story of the world within Rocket League. In order to fully understand the story of the Moai heads, we must first go back in time. March 21st, 1969 to be exact. That day, a now widely recognizable company known as Konami was founded. Back then, Konami was originally a business based upon renting and repairing jukeboxes and was located in a part of Japan known as Toyonaka, Osaka. It is unknown why they decided to try their hand at arcade games, but in 1978, they decided to export their first arcade game to the West titled Block Evader. This must have not been too much of a success, as there is almost zero information on it. Still, Konami kept pushing to make video games. Going up until around 1980, Konami primarily released clones of other popular arcade games to the West. However, in the 80s and 90s, they actually started putting their brain cells to use and made games like Frogger. They were starting to get some extremely popular games and franchises on their hands, and it seemed to have caught the eye of Yoshinori Sasaki. The theory goes that when Sasaki joined Konami as part of their staff, he had the nickname of Moai. Konami then proceeded to add Moais into games Sasaki worked on, but it may have also spiraled into a tradition for Konami to add Moais into all of their games rather than just the games Sasaki worked on. Then Konami went crazy with the Moai and made a game about it. Yeah. No. This may seem rather unlikely given the fact that Sasaki was only a composer for the music in some of Konami's games and didn't play a major role such as executive producer for any of them. However, with other companies such as Nintendo, they allowed composer Kazumi Totaka to add a special tune to signify he worked on a game titled Totaka's Song. It has been featured in nearly every game Totaka has worked on and is generally known as one of the hardest to find Easter eggs in Nintendo games. Konami may have also made this nod to Sasaki because of the connection between Konami previously working with jukeboxes, combined with Sasaki being a composer and his nickname being Moai. There isn't really any counter evidence on this theory, but there isn't much supporting evidence either. For the most part, we're less in the dark on why Konami started adding Moais into their games, but this is most likely and only theory on it. I mean, Konami just let their staff connect to the internet inside of their offices and has security cameras around them designed to watch their every small movement. Do you really think they're going to tell us this? Anyways, one of the many games from Konami's golden era is called Gradius. It was an arcade game and NES game released in 1985 and 1986. It was a shoot-'em-up game where you control a spaceship fighting off aliens to survive. This is also one of the games with the most Moai heads placed by Konami, with many of them appearing as enemies in it. They literally had a whole area called Moai Zone in Gradius. I guarantee you that Konami keeps a shrine of them on their nightstand. This game spawned a series of Gradius entries, and the trend of having more than enough Moais for one game lived on. Remember this series of games, as we'll talk about them later on. The year is unknown, though it is most likely 1985. A child by the name of Eric Beckman was born and was living his best life. He would go on to be one of the many children of the time who were obsessed with the new craze of video games. As he grew up, one of Eric's favorite games was Gradius, and one of the things that seemed to have caught his mind was the abundance of Moais around the game. Of course, the internet didn't exist back then, so he didn't have access to information neatly compiled into videos like the one you're watching right now, so he was left up to his own imagination on why the heads existed. I don't know, he probably thought Konami was part of the Mafia. Which they are. While playing video games other than Gradius, he developed a love for Easter eggs as well, something that would be a sign for the future that will lie ahead. Eric would eventually take college at the Art Institute of California from 2004 to 2009, getting a bachelor's degree in what can be assumed of environmental art. 2 years later, in January 2011, Eric landed his first notable job as an associate environmental artist for Insomniac Games, which at the time were most notable for the creation of the Spyro and Dragon series, as well as their Ratchet and Clank series. While working at Insomniac, he was told that someone who worked there as well had put teddy bears in every game that he had worked on as sort of an Easter egg or joke. I cannot find any information that identified who it was that was behind the teddy bear craze, however, so it's kinda sad. In April 2011, Eric had left Insomniac Studios in search of a different work area. There was no information on why he left, if he actually left, or if he was just let go by Insomniac. From July 2011 to February 2012, he would join High Moon Studios, being an associate environmental artist on the game Transformers: Fall of Cybertron. It seems that after this game was almost finished, he wasn't needed for the game and didn't seem to be needed for anything else notable during his time at High Moon. Finally, he transitioned to a different company, the one that we all know and love today, Psyonix. He would join Psyonix in March of 2012 and has been working there ever since. When Eric first joined Psyonix, he'd been a texture artist for an iOS game titled Arc Squadron, which released in 2012. While working on the game, he decided that this would be a perfect time for him to finally put one of his special moai into it. He convinced the others working on Arc Squadron, and thus, an Easter egg was born. Arc Squadron would later release on November 1st, 2012, to receive praise from multiple outlets, almost all of which were impressed by how detailed the game's graphics were for being on mobile. Good on you, Eric. You did good. Eric would later work as a texture and prop artist for a canceled game developed by Psyonix called Nosgoth, where it was planned to have a moai head hidden inside of it. However, due to not getting enough of an audience, Nosgoth was scrapped around 2016. Finally, he would work on Rocket League, where he is an environmental artist, a car artist, and does other cool stuff for the game. Eric began to add moai into Rocket League in late 2015, but slowly began to add more and more throughout the years. Because there is somewhat regular attention to moais into something like a new map, people now hunt for these moais across the world of Rocket League. In December of 2015, the map Wasteland was released into the Rocket League community. If you look at Wasteland while at nighttime, very far away from the stadium, you could see 3 moai heads staring off at the distance. It would be the first time that moai were added into the Rocket League, but it would not become the first to be discovered. Pretty cool considering how rarely would somebody come across these moai without looking for them. Speaking of that, it wasn't until December of 2016 when these heads were finally found in the game. If you want to look for it yourself, the map has now been renamed to Badlands, as the standard version of Badlands is now known as Wasteland. On February 23, 2016, a redditor by the name of Oceanhorn pointed out a nice little tip for others at the startup screen. If you enter the Konami code, you will see the supersonic acrobatic rocket-powered battle cars logo, hear the Sharp theme music, and get a moai antenna. I assume this was when it was first discovered because it got exactly 400 upvotes on that post. This was when most of the community first found out about the moai heads being a thing in Rocket League, though I don't think many of them thought this deeply about it. Fun fact. Gradients on the MSX computer architecture in 1986 was the first ever use of the Konami code. Sadly, with the free-to-play update, you are unable to obtain the moai antenna through entering the Konami code at the startup screen. This Easter egg was most likely added in order to pay homage to Konami for the inspiration of hiding moai. Not necessarily sure why the Sharp logo and music pops up though, probably just added for content. July 3rd, 2016 was when Redditor Yodian found a hidden moai pretty far up in one of the top buildings in Neo, Tokyo. It seems to blend in very well with the other holograms and advertisements around the area, so it fits in nicely. This is also one of the first instances where somebody made an Easter Island reference about moai being Easter eggs in their replies. Sadly, it's just a coincidence. But maybe it's not a coincidence. What if I told you that the eggs in the stains are actually Easter eggs? As Eric is a part of the environmental art team, he could have created the eggs to look this way for this very reason, as another nod to Easter Island and to further the lore of the moai. But that's just a conspiracy, and there's no evidence behind it, so we'll move on. In December of 2016, Starbase Arc was officially unveiled and released to Rocket League as a surprisingly amazing looking map. It was completely space themed and had a highly detailed background for you not even to notice while playing the game because you were focusing on the field. That octagon field. Why, Psyonix? Why? Thank God they fixed it later to be normal, but it still gives my friend Ryan PTSD every now and then. Anyways, through the distraction of the field and the incredibly vast outside world impossible to see beyond it, it would be normally impossible to find the moai in these circumstances. Except, there's a way to glitch out of the map. Thanks to Starbase Arc being an octagon, players using Rocket League Trainer could spawn outside of the map thanks to the corners being more inward than a standard map. Thanks to this, and some boredom from a member of the community, Redditor Lethal Kale would find a moai hidden in the wild on June 13th, 2017. It is nearly impossible to see when you are in the field itself, but it's there nonetheless. Props to you, Lethal Kale. This is probably the hardest moai that the community has found in Rocket League so far. To celebrate the esports scene of Rocket League and its 2-year anniversary, Psyonix treated us with a map called Champions Fields on July 5th, 2017. This had a whopping 4 Moai head Easter eggs in this one map, making it the most we've ever seen in one individual map in Rocket League. There are 2 logos on the yellow drones just outside of the field, 1 on one each. There's 1 Moai logo in the back of the blimp flying high above the field, and there's 1 on top of the scoreboard at the very top of the map. Within around 5 minutes of the map's release, Redditor Lethal Kill found the Moai logos on the blimp above the field and the Moai logos on the drone hovering around the field. He noticed also that the logo on the blimp had the letters ERCH on it, wondering what it meant. If he looked at the credits and was just a little bit smarter, then he would know that Eric is an environmental artist and that the Moai itself in the logo represents an eye. See, that's 200 IQ. Before you comment, yes, Lethal Kill as in the same Lethal Kill who found the Starbase Arc Moai. Later on, a user on Imager had found the 3rd Moai head chilling on the top of the scoreboard at the very top of the map. I don't know how he was so smart to look up there, but that's beyond me, so congrats. Side note. Could Psyonix also be a part of the Mafia considering their mysterious Moai connections with Konami? It was pretty easy to find the Moai in Farmstead, having a nap inside of the tower swing, but some people had to announce it to the world that it existed. So thank you, Redditor X Quarter VR. I hope you're proud of yourself. The final Moai that is currently in the game right now comes from the map Salty Shores, released on May 29, 2018. On the same day, multiple different people began searching for the Moai heads, and sure enough, behind the mountains there were 4 in a row, tying the most Moai heads in a single map. I would also mention the decals that include Moai on them, but I don't want to bore you with looking at a card decal. Seeing giant ones in maps that you always play on but never notice is just way cooler. Hey, you! Thanks for watching the video. Unless you're a weirdo that skipped to the end, and I would like to say, go back, because you missed a great video. I will try to make videos every other week, trying to improve each and every video, so you won't want to miss out on future uploads. We have a couple video ideas that will release in the near future, and we believe people from all over the community will enjoy, so stay tuned. If you would like to see me live, I stream every other week on my Twitch channel, which is on screen right now. Until next time, goodbye. I can't believe he thought so poorly of me, to the fact where I would forget the bloopers? That's the funniest part of the video. How would I forget the bloopers? Here they are. I don't know. You probably thought Konami was part of the Mafia, which they are. I was playing other games. Side note. Could Psyonix also be a part of the Mafia considering they were mysterious? Ryan. What?